All right, this episode of the podcast is brought to you by Amazon.com. If you guys are regular purchases of Amazon and want to go through our link and you love what we're doing, that's a great way to support the show. And we've made it really, really easy for you to do that. If you go to our website, you only have to do this one time. If you go to our website, on the right-hand side, there's an Amazon banner, but below that is some text that says, click and drag me to your desktop. And if you do that, it'll create a little icon right there on your desktop. And then if you use that icon every single time you make an Amazon purchase, that will help support the show. And it's a great way to do it. And we appreciate it so, so much. So all you have to do is remember to do that one time and then use the icon every single time you make a purchase from Amazon. And we would greatly appreciate that. That helps support the show big time. So thank you guys for that. We're also brought to you by the new Academy that we're starting. It's going to be launching very soon. There's going to be some discounts if you get on the early bird waiting list. And if you do that, we'll notify you as soon as we launch. And the Academy is going to be a great place to take everything that we do here at Extreme Health Radio much, much further and much, much deeper and make practical ways for you guys to apply everything you learn here at Extreme Health Radio into your life. It's going to be a great way to connect with others, and it's going to be an amazing community. So if you want to join the Academy and dive deeper into the content that we create here for free at Extreme Health Radio, feel free to sign up to the Academy on this show page, which is extremehealthradio.com/513. Well, welcome everybody to another edition of Extreme Health Radio. I got my sidekick, my partner in crime, my Bonnie and Clyde.
I am so happy to be back. It worked out great, and this was a story with Corrie today that I really did not want to miss. I haven't wanted to miss any of the past ones, but I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, this is going to be a good one.
Thanks.
I was actually reading her story. If you guys are interested in reading her story, I read it on cureyourowncancer.org, but shh. We can't say the word cure, can we?
I guess not. Not these days.
That's against FDA regulations.
Well,
the government doesn't like cures.
No.
We won't talk about that. That's a subject for a whole new show.
Mm-hmm.
You realize this is episode 513?
Really?
Yeah. 513 shows.
Where does it go?
Where does time go? Well, this is going to be an interesting show because we've got Corrie Yelland on the show, and she's going to be talking about her diagnosis with cancer. Anal cancer and skin cancer, and I believe they were happening at the same time back around 2010, 2011, 2009, around that time. And just a fascinating story. And it seems like, as you know, everyone is affected by cancer. It's nuts, isn't it?
Running rampant.
It's running completely
I have about
rampant.
5 people in my circle right now.
Do you?
Mm-hmm.
5 people.
I know. That's a lot just within my circle. And imagine everybody else's circles. It's an insane amount of people it's affecting.
It's absolutely crazy. So we're going to be talking about cannabis oil. We did a show with Rick Simpson. We've done a couple shows with him. He's a great guy. I think he was episode 422. I wanted to get him on episode 420. Yeah, would have made
that would have been apropos.
But we had him on, I think it was episode 422, I think. So we had Rick Simpson on, and Corrie subsequently learned from Rick Simpson how to make the oil, how to do suppositories rectally, and all this amazing stuff. So we're going to talk to her, and her website, just so you want to know, she's got a cool site now doing all kinds of interviews about cannabis at cannabishealthradio.com. So thank you so much, Corrie, for joining us today. We really appreciate this.
Not a problem.
Yeah, so was I correct in the timeline? Was that around 2010-11 when all this was going down for you?
2011.
2011. Do you think, you know how they say cancer usually takes 5 to 7 years to develop? Looking back on your life, do you think that was the case with you?
I remember when this was all said and done, saying to my doctor, you know, Paul, I've probably had this all my life. And he said, yeah, you're right, you probably have.
Interesting.
All your life.
Why did you think that?
Just when I go over my health history, I mean, I initially got cancer when I was 28 years old.
Oh, my gosh.
And, you know, so it's been an on-again, off-again battle. This was just the creme de creme, this one round.
Wow, that's crazy. So what did you have at 28?
At 28, I was diagnosed with cancer of the vulva, which is extremely rare, and usually happens in women in their 70s. And so this cancer that hit me in July of 2011 was actually a metastasis.
Oh, really? So it was connected?
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
So
that is so young. Do they have any, do you have any thoughts on why that kind for you?
HPV virus.
Really?
Oh, you're kidding me.
HPV, yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
Wow.
However, I'm here to tell you that cannabis oil works great with HPV.
Oh, I can't wait to get into that.
Yeah,
because that's a big issue these days.
Yeah, it's a whole lot better than that vaccine, let me tell you.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So now, if I'm not mistaken, they're trying to give HPV to boys. They're giving it to kids, and so
They are.
What's the latest on that? Do you know?
I don't know what the latest is. I know that, often I'll see a story on some poor young woman. I haven't seen any boys yet where their health is completely wrecked from the vaccine.
Did you see the one last week in, I think it was Costa Rica or somewhere, where a young girl, 14-year-old, actually died?
Oh, really?
No,
right,
I didn't see that.
Right after receiving it, and her family. It was a horrible picture of just the family on their knees, just, grieving, and it's just from that exact vaccine. So
yeah, you think you're doing the right thing.
Yeah, I know.
To protect your child.
Oh, these poor people.
That's crazy. So you had that vaccine at around 13, 14?
What's that?
No, she didn't have the vaccine. She had the
I
virus.
didn't have any vaccines. No, I got the virus instead. I got the real deal.
You got the real deal. That's not good.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, see.
Well, what's interesting, I know you guys probably know that I help tons of people, and what's interesting is these women and men who come to me with HPV that has developed into cancer. It's rampant now. Doctors that I've talked to a couple patients who have said that their doctor has said it's an epidemic in people in their 50s.
Really?
Yeah.
Is this HPV? Has it been around since the beginning of time?
HPV's been around for quite some time, in the form of venereal warts, etc. And then it just sits there, and then it'll go crazy, and hence
it lays dormant.
The cancer issue.
Are children getting it from their mothers and fathers being born with it?
I don't know. I don't know enough about that.
I'm just wondering if people are contracting it only sexually, or if they're getting it passed down like some things,
Yeah.
Interesting.
I don't know.
Okay. Wow. So at 28, this turned into that cancer. That is insane.
Yeah.
That's so young.
It was very young.
What did the doctor say to you at that time?
That it was sitting right on top of my lymph nodes, and that if it hit them, it would take off, and I'd have a month.
Oh my! A month.
A month. So at the tender age of 28, I was given a choice between a radical vulvectomy or a brand new form of this weird chemotherapy from Japan. I was actually the first person in the world to have that. It was called photochemotherapy.
Oh, my goodness. You were the guinea pig.
I was.
Oh, man.
Wow.
But it wasn't your standard chemotherapy. They'd inject you with this drug called hematopoforin derivative, and it would make you totally sun-sensitive. And basically the idea was that it would stick to your cancer cells but not your healthy cells. And then you would come back a week later, and they'd shine this 7,000-watt bulb on the area to be treated. And apparently it would cause the cells to leak singlet oxygen and die. That was how it was supposed to work.
Okay.
I think they still do it now, but I think it's called photodynamic therapy, and it's much more...
refined? Or?
Refined, yeah, exactly. And they use a laser as the light source, etc. But yeah, that was my experience when I was 28. And then that was something that I fought off and on for years.
Wow.
Off and on. And I remember, when I got my new gynecologist, he said to me, it's not a matter of if this is going to come back, it's a matter of when it's going to come back.
That's encouraging.
Gosh, talk about the doomsday,
yeah, I thought
right?
so too.
Gosh.
And it did come back. Holy cow, did it ever?
Yeah, so Corrie, tell me a little bit about some of the symptoms you were having at 28 before you were diagnosed.
Excuse me. Sorry, just getting over a cold.
Oh, no.
At 28, I got venereal warts, and I kept going to this doctor, and he kept trying to burn them off, and finally, I just sort of threw my hands in the air and said, look, if you can't get rid of these things, send me to someone who can. And he was really, I was 28 years old, and I felt like so embarrassed, and he was almost like demeaning to me. And he had this like old secretary, and she's like, "Oh, Corrie, it's you again." And it just did not do a whole lot of wonders for my self-esteem.
Right.
So anyway, I eventually went to a gynecologist, and it turned out that when they pulled up the reports, my GP at the time had been getting reports saying unusual cellular activity, please investigate, and hadn't done anything about it. At any rate, they took me into the operating room and put me out to do it. I can remember because it was April Fool's Day. And the doctor phoned me and said, "Can you come in?" And he said, "This shows that you have vulvar cancer." And he says, "The chances of you having that are almost impossible. So we're going to send off your biopsy results to Dr. Ann Worth, who apparently was the top gynecological pathologist over in Vancouver, and I'm sure we'll find out that everything's fine." And a week or so later, he called me in and he said, "I'm sorry, but you've got cancer." So that's how it all started back in the day.
Golly. So now, when you were when the doctor told you that, were you alone with him? Did you have family with you or anything like that?
No, I was alone.
You were alone?
Mm-hmm.
And what was your reaction? I mean, gosh, at 28 years old.
It's interesting. My very first thought was, "Oh my God, I'm going to lose all my friends." That was my very first thought, because I'd been working with a woman who was probably old enough to be my mom. She was my partner, and she had cancer, and everybody really, really liked her, but nobody would go and see her or anything because they didn't know what to say to her.
Oh.
So, I did most people's first thought is, "Oh my God, I'm going to die."
Right.
But my first one was I was going to lose my friends, then it was I was going to die.
Oh my gosh.
So I always made a point of, whenever I saw my friends, telling them right off the bat what's going on. Okay, this, and this is going on. This is what's happening now. So now can we be normal and talk?
Yeah.
And just have fun.
Yeah.
So.
Wow. So when the doctor told you at 28 that you've got cancer, did he at that time recommend the chemo or tell you if you didn't, you've got this long to live? What was his...
No, they said, this is so rare that we're going to have to send you to the Vancouver Cancer Clinic.
Uh-huh. And where were you living at the time?
Victoria.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, I went to Vancouver, and I was seen by a whole slew of doctors, 5 or 6 of them. And then at the end of that session, that's when they came and said, this is right on top of your lymphatic system. If it takes off, you've got 1 or 2 months. We can offer you this radical vulvectomy, which was complete removal of all of my external genitalia. I mean, the whole thing, everything gone.
Oh, my God.
Or I could do this photochemotherapy. So.
My goodness. So how long did you do the photochemotherapy?
Oh, gosh, off and on for a year. I really reacted to it. You were supposed to be sun sensitive and avoid sunlight for a week. I would burn instantaneously. Like, I would have blisters all over my hands. I had to have blackout curtains on the windows.
Oh.
Well, they didn't have any way of measuring it properly, so I actually could not go out in daylight of any kind for almost a year, over a year, actually.
Oh, my goodness.
So I played mole for a year.
How boring would that be? I bet you were...
Oh, it was horrible, yeah.
Have you heard about those kids? There's kids now coming down with this, sun and allergy to the sun.
Oh, yeah. I knew a kid who was a paddleboarder. Do you remember that? And his dad, and they were big surfers, big paddleboarders, and all of a sudden his son came down with it. Yeah, I forget what it's called, but he could not be out in the sun and was hospital. I mean, I'm talking like Corey's talking, like you will basically die. And
my goodness.
If you're out in the sun, it's the weirdest thing.
That must have been so hard for you to be unable to go in the sun for an entire year.
Yeah, it was pretty horrible when I think back on it now. Funny, that human survival, you just kind of black that stuff out afterwards.
You have to keep going, probably.
Golly.
Yeah.
Holy mackerel. So what happened after that year then?
I think I was clear for a while, and then it just kept coming back. Kept coming back. I can't tell you how many times I was in hospital, and I'd be in there for like pain control and stuff. Numerous laser surgeries. It was just basically a 30-year nightmare. And then
oh my gosh.
Then I was okay for a long period of time. And then it came back.
During that period of time when it seemed to be okay, were you doing anything different?
No.
No. Okay.
No.
So
it was interesting. I went into a spontaneous remission when I got pregnant with my son.
Interesting.
apparently, if you have human chorionic gonadotropin in your system, you're either pregnant or you have cancer.
Right.
And it's almost like the cancer I had was a negative form of human chorionic gonadotropin, and that, getting pregnant was a positive form of it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's my unscientific analysis of why it happened.
Well, that's part of the reason, or part of the work. I'm sure you're familiar with Dr. Nicholas, the late great Dr. Gonzalez out in.
Yes.
Yeah, and that was part of his whole theory with Dr. John Beard, I think it was, and the high enzyme count, in pregnant women, and there's some day, I think day 53, when the baby starts producing its own enzymes, and so the hormones are affected at that time, and that's the basis of his entire cancer treatment is the high enzyme therapy, which is I think he's been using that for pancreatic cancer, which is one of the most aggressive types of cancer.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah.
So there you go. Maybe your unscientific scientific theory is true.
I was a scientist and I didn't even know it.
Well, this is a good Monday to figure that out.
Wow.
Holy mackerel. So you had your son, you felt amazing during the pregnancy, and then were you safe for a while after he was born?
I was safe for 2 months.
2 months.
And then it came back.
Oh.
And when I think back on it now, you guys see, I've forgotten all this stuff. Okay, so here's my son, and he's 2 months old, and I'm incredibly ill. I am on a shot of 50 milligrams of Demerol and 50 milligrams of Gravol and 150 of Demerol every 2 hours.
Oh.
And I'm getting up and trying to look after this infant.
Oh, God.
And when I think back on it, it's like, oh, my God, I don't know how I did that.
Yeah.
You're
probably sleepwalking through it all.
Yeah. Pretty much so.
With a brand new baby.
Brand new baby.
That's intense.
Wow.
Yeah, it is intense.
So
that battle, that round went till about, I guess he was a year old.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was fine. And then I got pregnant with my daughter. And I was fine all during my pregnancy. And when I delivered my daughter, they said there was a lot of issues around whether or not she was going to be okay. There were tests indicating that she was going to. They gave me a 90% chance she was going to have a severe fetal abnormality, and they said her head wasn't growing anyway. She was absolutely fine. However, they said congratulations, she's okay, and we're really sorry to tell you your cancer is back.
My goodness.
So that was that round. And I'm trying to think how long that lasted. 5 months or so. I opted for a simple vulvectomy that time.
You did.
Which is actually amazing. I'm completely intact. This guy did a superb job. But
oh my gosh.
That's what I did that time around. And then I was fine for years and years. For, probably almost 30 years.
So at this point in your journey, did you have any thoughts about, the diet aspect or the toxicity or chemical exposures or anything going on in your life where you started to, think about diet and change your life on that level, or did you not think about that?
Not really. I eat fairly healthily, and I was into glyconutrients. So I guess I made some changes. I think that as you mature, you just do anyway for the most part.
Yeah.
You become more aware of your health and your lifestyle.
Right.
You're not as reckless as you were in your 20s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you cleaned up a little bit, but didn't fully go all the way with learning about the stuff that you know about now with the cannabis or maybe some dietary things. You just kind of kept going along.
Yeah, I was pretty busy, raising kids and that sort of thing, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's amazing. I can't get over that. So at what age was all this going on?
When I was raising kids, etc.
Yeah, because you're 28 the first 28,
time. Yeah. I think I had, my son is just about 30.
Okay.
So I would have been 30 when I had my son.
My goodness.
Ooh.
That's intense. So
I can't be that old. Surely to God, I can't be that old.
You're not.
I meant to say he's about to turn 10.
Yeah, he'll be 5 in a couple of weeks. Wow. Okay. So then at that point, for the next 20, 30 years, everything was fine. No issues. No nothing.
I was pretty much fine. Yeah.
And then
And then I started getting some abdominal pain. And the only way I can describe it was like period cramps. So it was like really low down. Mm-hmm. And except I didn't have any period to get cramps from.
Sure.
And I was just kind of ignoring it. I think I've got kind of like, the whole little irritable bowel thing happening sometimes. And so I wasn't really paying that much attention to it. And then it got really severe. There were a couple of times where I was taken by ambulance to hospital. Practically. Gosh. I remember one doctor saying to me afterwards, "You were levitating off of the structure. You were in so much pain."
Oh.
So then, so I went to my GP, and she said, "I don't like this. I don't like this one bit." And so I went to see my gynecologist, and I was convinced that it was going to be something uterine, because I was getting like these freaking cramps, right? Mm-hmm. And he was not Mr. Warm and Fuzzy by any stretch of the imagination, okay? This guy's very South African fellow, not that that has anything to do with it, but...
Very clinical, probably.
Very clinical, etc. And so he starts to do the examination, and his face turns white, and he says, I'm so sorry. You need to see your doctor right now. You need to leave here, and you need to go see your doctor right now. And
wow,
he wouldn't tell you anything else.
I think he told me that I had cancer. I'm not sure, or that something was very wrong and that I needed to be tested.
Okay.
And I had these. I should digress a bit here. I had these growths on the outside that I thought were hemorrhoids. And I had never had hemorrhoids, so I didn't know. And I had gone to my doctor, and I saw another doctor because that my doctor wasn't in that day. But I knew this doctor as well. And I said, would you mind just checking me? And she did. And she said, oh, yeah, those are hemorrhoids, nothing to worry about. In hindsight, very, very often people are misdiagnosed and told they have hemorrhoids when indeed it's cancer. Mm. So anyway, I remember, it's funny because that morning, I was having a bath and I was thinking, oh my God, these things are like insane. Mm. I've got to get rid of these one way or another. This is just crazy.
Yeah.
And then it was that day, that I found out that no, that wasn't the case. So I went through a whole slew of tests that was very, very whirlwind. From the time I was in his office to the time I was in the operating room was maybe 11 days, I want to say.
Oh, wow. That's quick.
And they had already told me it was cancer before I went in. So basically this was a diagnostic procedure to see what stage I was at. This was not a matter of removing tumors. It was just so they could get a handle on how far this had gone.
Okay.
So basically what was going on was this was a metastasis from the initial cancer. So when they got the biopsy results back, I remember the wording at one point in the biopsy is almost every lesion is covered in HPV, human papilloma virus. Okay?
Oh.
But so this is definitely linking it to the HPV thing from when I was 28 years old.
Oh.
And I had numerous tumors internally and externally. The way they described it to me was they looked like cauliflowers, and they had cut the tops of the cauliflowers off, but the stems and the roots were still there. Mm-hmm. And that I would have to have treatment to get rid of them, and that my life was in danger.
Mm.
So I'm sure that's what you did? You had treatment for that?
No.
This is where it turns.
This is where it turns.
This is where it all turns.
Dun, dun, dun.
I like it.
So, I'm doing some research, and then I go to the cancer clinic, and I took 2 people with me to make sure that I'm hearing everything right. And the guy was it was like being in a meat market. He's like, well, this is the worst part of the body to treat. You're going to have 2nd and 3rd degree burns vaginally, rectally, perianally. We're going to hit your coccyx and your pubic bones, so you'll have bone deteroration. Uh-huh. We'll try not to hit your spine.
We'll try.
And then he goes,
we'll just try.
Your vagina will probably fuse shut. And your rectum will probably fuse shut too, but don't worry about that. We'll just take you up to the operating room and dilate you if that happens. And I remember thinking, I don't freaking think so. You know?
That is like, that to me sounds like the worst like mutilation you could do to a person.
My goodness, right?
Oh, it was just seemed horrendous to me.
That's crazy.
Oh, that's horrible.
He wouldn't give me any straight answers on pain control. He wouldn't give me any straight answers on the long-term side effects of radiation.
Mm-hmm.
Because he didn't know?
I had already educated myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I did know. But I was waiting to see, you know, how much he was going to tell me. I mean, it's not that I was playing a game or anything, but I wanted to know, how are you going to handle these long-term side effects? What happens if this happens, this happens, this happens?
Yeah.
So some of the things that he did not tell me that I already knew is you will never again know when you have to go to the bathroom. You won't get so much as a tummy ping. You'll just 1 minute you'll be fine. I know I've talked to patient after patient now who's told me about this. And they'll be out, and all of a sudden they've got feces running down their legs.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, it's just crazy. The bone deterioration, and I spoke to some poor woman who ever since her radiation, which had been, I think at this point, 2.5 years,
mm-hmm.
had not, ever since radiation, hadn't been able to even stand long enough to make a meal. She said, it's so horrible, I can't even do my laundry. I'm so sick of takeout food and ordering in. But, yeah, it just totally wrecked her for life. It's the gift that keeps on giving. And so I say to this guy, I want some time to think about it. I'm not even saying that I'm going to do alternatives. I'm just saying I want some time to think about it.
Yeah.
And to just, process it and digest it.
Right.
Well, he got up. He looked at me. He told me I was going to die, that I had 2 to 4 months, muttered something about me having a death wish, and stormed out.
Yeah, I read that on the article on CureYourOwnCancer.org. He just he muttered that under his breath as he walked out, right?
Yeah, it was crazy. So we sat there for a couple of minutes.
That's crazy.
And then my girlfriend said, well, I guess we're done here. And I went, yeah. So we went upstairs to the library that they had and to do some research on anal cancer, and there wasn't a lot on that cancer. Colorectal cancer, there's all sorts of stuff on, but anal cancer, not so much. And however, what we did glean from the little that we could find is the number one cause of anal cancer is radiation.
No way.
And I'm thinking, let me get this straight. You want to radiate me to get rid of cancer? To what? Create more cancer? And then, on top of that, I know a woman who does counseling at the cancer clinic. And her area of expertise is the colorectal stuff. And she saw my chart, and she said to me, after all was said and done, do you know that right on your chart, they had said that they did not expect radiation to work for you?
No way.
Yeah, but they were going to put me through that.
That's so asinine. I don't even know what to say.
I'm just saying.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
How often? I'm wondering how often that's written in people's charts. I mean, is this a common thing that they're writing?
I don't know, but can you imagine?
No.
They didn't mention that to me at all.
Corey, what year was this?
2011.
Thank God, though, that it was at this time when you had the internet to do research and all that, because people, 10, 15, 20 years prior, I mean, to get this information would have been so difficult.
Would have been impossible.
Yeah, it would have been really, really difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Holy mackerel, what a blessing.
No kidding.
All right. So it said that on your chart. That's crazy.
Yeah, it said that on my chart.
All right.
So I come home, and I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I mean, I should digress here a bit and say in 2007, I had a heart attack, and I had open heart surgery. And as a result of that open heart surgery, I had been left with a very debilitating condition called post-sternotomy syndrome. Mm-hmm. And I had also had a malaligned syndrome, or malaligned sternum. Mm-hmm. So every day was agony for me. I was on virtually every pharmaceutical you can imagine, and this had been almost 5 years. I was on morphine, Demerol, Percocet, Dilaudid, opium, you name it. I was on it, 10 to 15 Tylenol 3s a day, and I couldn't wait for night to come. I'd take a sleeping pill, I'd go to sleep, I'd wake up 2 hours later in pain, I'd rock back and forth on my patio crying all night till morning. And then I'd go, okay, made it through another day. I was like an old lady.
Wow.
It was horrible. And that was my life for 5 years. So when they're suggesting that they're going to put me through this radiation, I'm already coming from a place of somebody who has a very, very compromised quality of life. And I remember saying to my son, you know, Michael, I don't know, quality or quantity, you know?
Yeah.
So this just seemed very, very overwhelming to me. And I came home and started doing some research, and my sister sent me an email with a link to a video called Run From the Cure. And it sat in my mailbox because I could see it was an hour long. And I thought, whatever. So she called me. She said, have you watched that video yet? And I'm like, no. And then I thought, you know, I'm just going to watch 10 minutes a day, get her off my back. You know, so I sit down to watch the first 10 minutes, big sigh. And I start watching it, and I go, oh, my God. And I watch it some more. I watch the entire thing, and then I play it again and watch it for a second time, and I was like, wow. So I phoned up a physician friend of mine in Milan and said, Danielle, what do you know about this? And he's like, oh, Corrie, we've been using cannabinoids to treat cancer for years here.
Oh, my gosh.
So that was the start of research. So that's all I did for 2 to 3 weeks, day in, day out, was research. And I was stunned by the vast number of studies out there. People say there's not enough studies. There are hundreds and hundreds and thousands of studies out there on cannabinoids and cancer. And you know, I made the decision that that's what I was going to do. I figured if anything was going to save my life, it was going to be that.
Wow. So who was it that sent you this video again? Was it
your sister?
Your sister. You know what I find really interesting about the cannabis and people talking about it just in mainstream? It's really fascinating to me that people will say things like, oh, you know, cannabis, that's great for cancer. Like it helps mitigate the side effects of chemotherapy or the nausea. But no one ever in the mainstream really understands that, hey, if you take cannabis, you might not need chemotherapy. Like it's not that it just gets rid of the nausea from chemo.
Yeah, it's so much more.
Oh, gosh.
It's so much more.
Yeah. So
I agree, though. That's what people do think.
Yeah, people just think that because I think they're trying to, you know, if it's people are pushing for it to become legal, what's happening is that they're now trying to mess up the information around it. So people just think, oh, it's good. It
integrates into your other plan.
A chemotherapy protocol,
right?
Or radiation.
Yeah, it'll help with that nausea. It'll help give you a little bit of an appetite.
I'm thankful, though. I mean, at least people are open to taking it as well as treatments because that might really, I mean, if they didn't have that, they might not have a chance. But. So,
Corrie, I'm curious, in terms of the cannabis, like, you know, you were talking about Rick Simpson in your article. And so from my understanding, it's when you concentrate the actual oil and take it as an oil instead of smoking it, because smoking it, although, you know, mitigates the side effects of chemotherapy and the nausea and the radiation things, it doesn't have the same medicinal properties as taking the oil, though, right?
No.
Yeah. Okay.
No, it's so much more potent.
And why is that? Just because it's concentrated, you think?
Because it's concentrated.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when I've seen people make the oil and they're taking, you know, pounds and pounds of leaf and they're distilling it all the way down to, you know, I don't even know how many grams, but it
takes approximately a pound of cannabis to make 60 grams, so 60 teaspoons of oil.
A whole pound of it. That's crazy.
A whole pound.
And that's
why cannabis oil is so expensive.
Yeah, for sure.
So you're up in Canada, is that correct?
I'm in Canada, yes.
What are the current laws up there with cannabis?
Oh, boy.
Changing every day?
An hour, and it could be different.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so every province obviously is different. Supposedly, we are on the verge of federally making cannabis legal, but I don't know what that framework is going to look like yet.
Right.
I am hugely afraid that they're going to take away patients' right to grow their own cannabis.
That's the thing, right?
And, boy, these people who particularly with oil, you need so much to make that oil that it's going to be out of reach for people who are ill. And the reality is more often than not, people who are ill don't have a lot of money.
Right.
Because they're not working or they're on disability, you know.
Well, that would make the most sense if you're someone who's involved in the government and wanting to protect your relationship with pharmaceutical companies and all of that. You know, the safe play would be, make it legal so that you get everyone off your back, but then just make it so that people can't get enough that's going to actually heal them.
Yeah, so I don't know how it's all going to play out. You know, Victoria right now has, I believe, 32 cannabis dispensaries. They're popping up everywhere.
Nice.
Victoria City itself is not cracking down on dispensaries yet. We have several municipalities here, and there's a number of them that have tried to. There's been individuals who've tried to open dispensaries in their municipality, and they're being shut down as soon as they open.
Wow.
So we're still waiting, and the Prime Minister was actually here last week in Victoria and made a statement that until it's federally legal, it is an illegal substance. Mm. So we'll see. You know, it's different across Canada how people are handling it, the different, police jurisdictions, et cetera.
Well, one of the problems, too, is that I was just reading the other day that it's got over the cannabis plant. I mean, there's obviously different strains and things, but it has over 5,000 uses, commercial uses that have nothing to do with health. So
with hemp, with clothing, and
concrete,
concrete,
and building houses, and
crazy,
on and on.
And the cement grown or the cement created by it is stronger and lighter. So the issue is like it doesn't just put individual businesses out of business; it puts out entire industries. Mm-hmm. So that's the problem, is that it's so powerful that I think what's happening is that industries need to change with the times in the same way that, like, a lot of internet companies came in, like Uber and, Airbnb are putting out hotels, like, existing established industries that have been around forever, aka the pharmaceutical industries and cement industries and things like that. They need to start integrating this stuff into their current business model.
And if they
could start making money from it as well, if the pharmaceuticals could, then it would be maybe they would be less against it, and if they could profit from it, then everyone profits and it's legal, like alcohol. I mean, not everyone profits from alcohol, but in terms of the consumption of it, but they're still making money off of it. So,
are you able to, are you growing plants yourself?
No, I'm not, but I am allowed to grow 5, I believe.
Okay. Is that even enough to do anything?
Yeah, is that enough?
No, not really. Like if I was going to make oil or something, it wouldn't be enough.
I didn't think so.
So
I was legal, federally legal, a federal medical cannabis patient. So I was allowed to grow, and I did grow 5 plants once. And then when they shut all this down, they revoked everybody's licenses.
Uh-huh.
So nobody was allowed to do anything. And then there was this grandfather clause that came out.
Oh, wow.
And so I'm under that grandfather clause, but it's still very gray.
Uh-huh.
A very gray area. Nobody's really sure what's legal and what isn't legal, so I'm sticking on the, trying to stay legal by not growing. I just don't want to even be at risk.
So do you I want to get back to, your first initial reaction to that movie, but right now, do you take cannabis oil regularly on a maintenance level?
Yes, I do. Every night.
Every night. And do you?
Yeah, every night.
So you purchase it from someone that you know or have contacts with?
Yeah.
Because you don't make it. Okay.
No, I don't make it. No.
Wow. So, does this just drive you nuts? All these laws against cannabis, and it must just drive you crazy.
It does make me nuts. It makes me more nuts for all the people that I talk to who are so afraid and are so desperate for help.
Yeah.
And, and often dollars is an issue, having the money to do it.
Yeah.
The only reason I was able to do this was my friends would get together and, get a bit of money together for me, and I'd buy an ounce or 2 ounces at a time and just make a tiny little bit of cannabis oil.
Uh-huh.
That's an important thing to touch on, I think, because a lot of people, I've called up a place around here, a dispensary, and they'll say you need to do so many rounds for it to be effective, or you need to spend, this amount to get this much. But I'm thinking at this point, anything is better than nothing.
Yeah, and that's what I always tell people, just get on it.
Yeah.
Worry about the dollars later, even if you just get a little amount to get started.
Sure.
You know, it's kind of like where there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah.
Some people do GoFundMe, etc.
Right.
Now, and there's a lot, there's a lot out there now on the internet and Facebooks and stuff, Facebook pages, etc.
Yeah.
I just want to tell people, though, don't purchase online.
Because
Do not purchase online. You are not going to get what you're asking for. You're not going to. There are so many scammers out there.
Mm-hmm.
And often people will be selling oil. They'll call it Rick Simpson oil, or they'll call it Phoenix Tears, which is actually a trademark owned by Dr. Janet Sweeney out of Colorado. And they'll call it Phoenix Tears. And, I can't tell you how many people I have Skyped with who show me their stuff that they've got, and it's like, oh, my goodness.
How can you tell? Nowhere. Can you tell the difference? Have you seen it in person?
You can tell by looking at it sometimes. You can tell by what they... I had some poor soul last week that I talked to who had been taking 3% THC. Which
3.
Is nowhere near what they need.
Right.
That sort of thing. Or then there's people that don't receive anything, or what they get isn't even cannabis oil. I had an elderly lady and her granddaughter desperately trying to save the lady's husband, grandpa. And they were all excited, and the girl said, yeah, I even tried some. And I said, well, how are you feeling? And she said, I don't feel anything, but it tastes good. And I'm like, really? So can you show me it? Anyway, these poor people had spent 1,000 some odd pounds, and they got this bag of Jell-O. And they had no idea. They had no idea. They didn't know what they were looking for.
Of course.
Yeah.
So, in your opinion, are the dispensaries an okay people to trust? If they're not online?
Yeah, some are, some are and some aren't.
I wonder how people know the difference.
I talk to so many people, and I'll get calls along the lines of, I've been on the oil for 2 months. How come it's not working? Where'd you get it? And more often than not, it's from a dispensary, and more often than not, and let me be very clear, I'm not saying this is the case all the time, but often the oil is subgrade. It's only, let's say, 30% THC, which is awesome for that patch of psoriasis on your arm.
Sure.
But it's not going to do anything for an aggressive cancer. And you can't take 2 30% to make the 60. You need that, something that's really, really strong. In most cancers, you need high THC.
Do you think people that are getting the real thing, they are feeling something? I mean, are people looking to feel a little high or a little, or
no, more often than not, people, more often than not, people don't want to get high.
Yeah.
That's a major barrier as to why people are reluctant to try cannabis oil.
What do you say to them?
I say a couple of things. First of all, what do you think you're doing when you're taking morphine and Percocet and Dilaudid and all of that sort of thing? You're getting high then. And I have a gentleman in Germany that I have to give credit to for this. He's a gentleman who had prostate cancer, stage 3 with Mets, I can't remember where, and we cleared him, and he's sort of paying it forward now and helps me out with people in Germany and Holland.
Oh, wow.
And when he gets that, well, I don't want to get high, he looks at them and he says, do you want to get high or do you want to die?
Yeah.
I love that saying because it's the reality. But, the other reality, too, for anybody who might be listening is you can still do this and not get high.
Okay.
Now, how is that? Because Rick Simpson says that THC is a crucial part of the whole thing, along with CBD. But
tell us how that works.
How does that work?
In 90% of cases, and I beg to differ because I have spoken to thousands upon thousands of people, and only once have I ever met somebody who got high doing suppositories. The key to it is this: when you're doing the suppository, you put it in 1.25 inches, 1.5 inches, just past the sphincter muscle. I always tell people, not up in your throat, okay? So you just put it in just inside, past the sphincter muscle, and you're good to go. If you do experience anything at all, you might be just a little tired. But other than that, you're fine. So when I'm talking to these young mums who have to be on their game and look after their kids in the day, I always suggest do suppositories in the daytime and do it orally at night. You do it orally at night, you sleep through most of the effects, and the medicine's doing what it needs to do.
So on your regimen, how much are you taking per day?
Right now, I'm probably taking about the size of a grain of rice, a little bit more
per day. And what were you
per day at night?
At night before bed. And then what were you? And then you're taking that orally, right?
Yes.
And then during your time where you were treating yourself, what was your dose at that point?
Well, when you talk to Rick, he suggests 60 grams in 90 days. Financially, I could not get up to 60 grams, and I just couldn't tolerate a gram a day. I just could not. So I maybe, if I'm being really generous, got up to 3/4 of a gram a day.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. Well, I started doing suppositories after a while.
So you started out orally and then doing
I started out orally.
Okay.
Yeah, because I was completely on my own. There were no Facebook groups then. It was just, all I had was the Rick Simpson video and the PhoenixTears.ca website, and that was it. And I remember, going through all the hoops, trying to obtain some cannabis was crazy. I went to my doctor. He was stunned that I wasn't going to have radiation. In fact, we had a little bit of an argument because I was kind of their star pupil that they used as an example to everybody about, never giving up and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And, he said, well, how when do you start radiation? And I said, I'm not having it. And he's like, sure you are. And I'm like, no, I'm not. He goes, yeah, you are. And I'm like, no, I'm not. And then, anyway, that's how that went. And then he's like, well, you can do your I told him I was going to do alternatives. And he said, well, you can do your alternative stuff, and then you can come and have your radiation.
Oh, my gosh.
That is funny.
Sometimes it can be so cocky, right?
Yeah, yeah. But, in the end, I'm trying to tell him what I'm doing, and he's covering his ears. And he's going, la, 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 la. But after I was completely clear, he's like, 180 turn. Corrie, cannabinoids are amazing. Do you know how many people we kill each day with pharmaceuticals? And we had like a half-hour conversation.
Oh my gosh!
On cannabis. So, he did turn around.
Is he still practicing?
He's still practicing. Yeah. Yeah. He said he looks forward to the day that he can just pull out a prescription pad and write a prescription for cannabis.
Oh, I bet.
Oh, that would be amazing.
So that's the change that occurred with him. Now, my specialist, I went in to see him after the diagnostic surgery, and he went, so, how's the radiation coming? I said, well, we need to talk. So
you and I need to sit down and have a little talk.
Yeah, we need to have a little chat, Doc. So he was very good. He listened. I talked to him for about 15 minutes about the Run from the Cure video that I'd seen and what it was all about. And, at the end of it, he said, I don't know anything about cannabis, so I can't sign for you, but I can tell you. And he walked across the room, and he got down on one knee, and he took my hands in his. He said, I support you all the way in this, and I will stand behind you, and I will follow you.
Wow.
Which was pretty cool.
Yeah. I would think.
Which was pretty cool.
Man.
So then I did actually get signed up at the Victoria Cannabis Buyers Club, and I'm like, yes. I've kind of felt like I was this person in this race jumping all these hurdles, and I got to the last hurdle, and now I was going to get this stuff that was going to save my life.
Yeah.
And I go up to the desk, and I say, I'd like to buy some cannabis oil, please. And they said, we don't have any. And I'm like, what do you mean you don't have any? Well, we don't carry it. And I remember this overwhelming feeling of desperation and fear in that moment. And thinking, holy crap, what am I going to do? So then I made it myself. Because you do what you have to do, right?
Yeah, you didn't blow up your house, did you?
What's that?
You didn't blow up your house, did you?
No, or my friends. I actually did it at my friend's house the first time. And
good. Use her house as a guinny pig.
What's that?
I said, good. Use her house as a guinny pig.
Yeah, it was his house. You don't mind, do you, Travis? Anyway, we all had written instructions. We had all watched the video, and we just did it painstakingly, step by step.
Wow.
And it turned out to be pretty easy. And, I'm looking at this black stuff in the syringe, and I'm thinking, this is going to save my life.
I bet.
And yeah, it did. And I remember thinking, even if it just gives me some time, even if it just keeps it at bay and doesn't do anything else,
now,
I'd be okay with that.
Did you have any resistance from friends and family and people like that in your life that were advising you to take the chemo, take the radiation? Did you have one?
Well, I have 2 RN sisters.
Okay.
Oh.
So one of them was very quiet.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. I guess I should have a conversation with her one day about what was going through her mind. She got quiet. And then I had the other not-so-quiet sister who
not so quiet.
We all have one of those.
left messages like, God, I don't hope she'd ever listen to this. Bless her. She was coming from a place of fear, but she'd leave messages like, oh, hi, Cor, I've got a patient on my ward today, and she's had her surgery, and she's starting her radiation tomorrow because she wants to live, and she wants to see her grandchildren.
Oh, my gosh. As if, you don't.
That is coming from such a place of fear,
But it's a place of fear.
It's love.
It was a place of fear.
It's all she knew how, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she's one of my biggest advocates now.
Wow.
So, God bless her for doing such a turnaround. It was
for sure
a real journey. And I tell you, I've been on both sides. I've been on the side where you love somebody who has cancer, and I've been on the side of having cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And as horrible as having cancer is, it's harder to be on the other side because you feel so out of control, so powerless.
Mm.
Yeah, because it's someone in your life that you love, and they're going to make their decisions, and you try to influence them. And a lot of people are influencing based on fear and propaganda and what they've heard in the media. And so,
but they're in love with you, so they what a weird thing. Better. They're trying to be loving, but they don't know.
Yeah.
Corey, I had a friend of mine, or it's not really a friend in high school, but I talked to her a couple times after high school, and about, I don't know what it was, 5 or 6 years ago, she had colon cancer, and I was talking with her on the phone, and I'll never forget this. She said to me, I asked her, because she knew what I did in this alternative field, and so she was asking a bunch of questions. And then I asked her, I said, are you going to go with the chemo, or what are your thoughts on the direction that you're going to go? She goes, I really want to do natural, but my parents would kill me if I didn't get chemotherapy. And it was so just, my heart sunk, and I thought, okay, well, I'll just support her no matter what she does, and it was just crazy.
But she prophesied over her own life.
She prophesied over her own life because she eventually ended up dying from what I think it was chemotherapy, but
chemotherapy,
she died. Yeah, of cancer.
So many people.
40 years old or whatever.
It was
39.
I don't know, 36 or something.
It's crazy.
Years ago, yeah.
Wow.
Just amazing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Corey, when you started doing this treatment, did you get checked all along the way? How did you know it was regressing, or how did you feel? And how quick?
As I mentioned prior, I was on a crap load of painkillers.
Yeah.
And within 10 days, I was down to half a Tylenol 3 a day.
No way. 10 days?
I was sleeping through the night, and it was like, oh my God, that was a spin-off that I hadn't even thought of or hoped for. I was all about just saving my life. And even, some of my friends were more supportive than others. And I remember this one guy who I knew was kind of like, I don't think you're doing the right thing. Saw me after 10 days, and he's like, oh my God, look at you. You even look different. And your skin looks great. And he could see the change.
Wow.
I had people walk by me and not even recognize me because I was like this little old lady for 5 years. It hunched over and, could barely walk. It was like, it was horrible.
That is so amazing. And so all these people started to realize the power of cannabis then.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is so great.
That opens up a whole can of worms, doesn't it?
Yeah, now they're all my advocates, and they're all sent. This one particular individual that I was just telling you about, he actually sent his mom to me.
Did he really?
Wow, really?
Oh, yeah. And she had lung cancer. She was in bed. She couldn't move. And we got her up and happening in a couple of weeks. The doctors were just stunned.
And what
She's in her 80s.
And what happened with her?
Did she go into remission? Did she survive?
Well, she's still doing oil.
She's still doing the oil?
Yeah, she's still alive and
still
kicking.
Here.
Wow. Did the doctors give her a certain amount of time to live?
Oh yeah, she was terminal.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and she's up and happening now, and the doctor's just shaking his head.
My gosh.
Lord above.
So you work with people individually these days?
Oh yeah, I get hundreds of emails. I have over 700,000 emails.
Oh.
700,000 emails?
Yeah. I have about 450 people waiting to Skype me right now.
I can't believe you wrote us back.
I know.
Yeah, I can't either.
Thank you.
Now it's going to get worse.
But that's why you kind of got lost in the folder the first time around.
Oh, I think so, yeah. Well, now it's just going to get worse for you. Or better, but yeah.
Wow.
That's amazing.
So do you enjoy, I'm sure you enjoy helping people, but...
Oh, absolutely I do. Absolutely I do. Yeah, well, I said all along that if this worked, I'd spend the rest of my life telling people about it.
Mm.
And that's what I do. I've helped save well over 1,000 lives around the world now. Those are just the ones I know about.
1,000 lives.
So what's interesting, too, is that like you're helping people around the world. So everywhere around the world is going to have their own laws regarding cannabis. So
yeah.
People are having to get creative, and maybe you're giving them some ideas, and they're seeking it out themselves, right?
Yeah. Even remote areas. I had a guy phone me. He was helping his mom who had breast cancer. He was living on an island, small island off the southern tip of Africa in the Indian Ocean.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I mean, the word's out there now. There's no getting away from it.
Well, with the internet and the work that you do is, like you said, people are able to seek out information at the click of a button, really, just a few types on your keyboard, and you can find anything you want.
Anything you want.
Yeah.
And, when I talk to people, I tell them, the 60 grams in 90 days, that's just a guideline.
Yeah.
If you've had chemo and radiation, you're probably going to need more. You were asking about whether I was followed or not by a doctor, and you know what? I didn't go back to the doctor for a year because I wasn't taking the dose that I knew I was supposed to be taking, the gram a day, and I just didn't want any more bad news, so I didn't go.
Good for you.
And finally, I dragged myself to the office, and he examined me, and he's looking all bewildered. And so he examined me again. He examined me 3 times, and he looks at me and he goes, "It's gone." He said, "It's completely gone." Wow. He said, "There's not even any scar tissue."
Wow.
He said, "If I didn't know better, I would have said you never had cancer." And he actually put that in his letter to my GP.
My goodness, how long ago was that?
And then he said, I just want to take you into the OR and do some biopsies just to make sure. So in my head, I'm knowing, oh yeah, there's at least going to be some residual cells. There's no way it's completely gone.
Right.
And so we do that, and I come into his office a few days later, and he hands me this piece of paper, and I said, "What's this?" And he said, "Oh, that's the paper saying you're 100% cancer-free." Jeez. And I started crying, and we were hugging each other, and I'm like, "Oh, my God, thank you." And he's like, "You're the one that did it, Corrie."
Wow.
Yeah. So completely gone. And I never got up to a gram a day, and I have not missed one day of taking my maintenance dose, and I never will. I'll be on this for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Amazing. Isn't that amazing? So your sister sends you the movie Run from the Cure by Rick Simpson.
Yep.
And alters the course.
Just changes your whole life.
Future.
Yep.
Isn't that
changed
amazing?
My whole life? Absolutely. Changed my life, saved my life.
It's so crazy. I often think about these types of things because, you've helped thousands of people over the course of your career, and with your website and your radio show and working with people individually. It's, and we've had Rick Simpson on the show a couple times, and he's done tons of interviews, and he created that video, Run from the Cure, his own documentary that he made all about this. It's just so fascinating because, if he were just extracted from the planet, if he just disappeared, the ripple effect that he's left on this planet just by making that video, and that video will continue to exist until the end of time, hopefully. We wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be talking with you today. You wouldn't have helped those 1,000 people or whoever you've helped. And they wouldn't never have had kids. That generation would never have existed. It's just amazing, the ripple effect of all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it really is. The youngest person I've helped was 2 months old with retinoblastoma tumor, wrapped around her optic nerve.
2 months.
And she was blind, and that was in May, and I think that they had given her 3 months. And by Christmas time, that child could see.
Oh, I've got chills down my whole body.
Is the child...
and that child's fine. That child's cancer-free.
How does the child take the cannabis?
Pardon me?
Does the child take the cannabis just orally, I would imagine?
Orally. Sometimes suppositories. I can't remember what we did with the baby.
My goodness.
And then the oldest one was 86 with stage 3 colon cancer. That was the first person I helped.
Really?
She's still alive.
Oh.
Wow.
Corey.
Stage 3 colon cancer. Now, how long does someone with that have to live? Do they
typically
normally
with
have?
what?
Stage 3 colon cancer.
Yeah, I wonder how long people live with that.
I would say maybe a year or so. I mean, but don't quote me on that. I mean, I think it depends whether it's stage 3A or 3B or whatever. I know she had metastasis.
Wow.
I want to say lymph nodes, but I could be wrong.
Isn't that just amazing?
Most people, I'm just so curious, most people you work with are, I mean, it's totally different for everyone, but are you finding that it's more popular to do both oral and suppository at the same time, or are a lot of people just one or the other?
Well, some people are all about not wanting to get high, but what I really encourage people to do is both. Cover all your bases. Cover all your bases. So do it orally at night, and if you sleep through the effects, if that's your issue.
Right.
And then, in the daytime, do suppositories.
What about vaginally? Do people, I have this uterine fibroid.
Particularly if you've got uterine or cervical or whatever, definitely.
Yeah.
So do you think it would affect the uterine fibroid?
Have you talked with people?
I think that we've had good results with that, but I would be doing it both orally.
I'm going to be that experiment. I'm going to try it out.
Now, Corey, I wanted to ask you, in terms of people, we have listeners around the world, and I'm sure now there's dispensaries around the world where people live. Are there any things people need to look out for in terms of the dispensary? Because you mentioned earlier before that, not all dispensaries have the good stuff or is concentrated as needs to be.
Well, there's a few things.
Yeah.
Good call.
We have the 32 here in Victoria, and I haven't been into all 32, but I've been into a number of them. Some of them are not very knowledgeable. My specialty or area of interest is medical cannabis. I'm not into recreational. I mean, it's not that I'm not into it. It's whatever. If you want to do recreational, that's fine. My concentration is on medical. So when I go into a dispensary, I'm looking at it from a medical point of view.
Yeah.
I think some of the dispensaries here in Victoria, I think they're just a thin veil for being able to sell recreational. And often they don't know what their product is. Like a number of dispensaries, and this is probably the same worldwide, that carry CBD. Often that CBD is from hemp, not CBD from cannabis. That's one thing to look out for.
So what's the difference?
Pardon me?
Good question.
Yeah, what's the difference there?
I think that, let me just give you an example. I was speaking to Dr. Sweeney, Janet Sweeney in Colorado, and I was telling her about this friend of mine who had 2 knee replacements and a hip replacement, and she had horrible arthritis, and I had gotten her on some CBD. I think it was 17% CBD. And a week later, she called me, and she said her pain was 90% gone. She could not believe the difference.
90% in a week. Wow.
In a week, yeah.
Right.
And Janet said to me, well, are you sure that's not placebo effect? And I'm like, yeah, Janet, I've given this I've got about 10 people now with arthritis. One woman who was opening and closing her hand saying, I haven't been able to do this in 15 years.
Wow.
And it turned out that the CBD that she had patients trying for arthritis was derived from hemp, and they weren't getting any results.
If you ask a dispensary, I mean, do they straight up tell you? I mean, do you trust their answer to be?
Well, it might not even be that they're lying. They just might not know. I've had that happen where people just really did not know.
Huh?
They'd go, yeah, I think so, and I said, well, can you find out?
Yeah, right.
Kind of important to know.
Yeah.
That's kind of important to know. And the other thing is, oil-wise, percentage of THC. Some of these places can't even tell you what the percent of THC is in it.
Oh, another good question. Okay, people should write these down then. Okay. percentage of THC.
You know, I know when my co-host at Cannabis Health Radio, Ian Jessup, he used to be in public broadcasting, and he had me on his show a couple of times. That's how we met, and I actually became a regular feature. So one elderly lady had been listening to me, poor soul. She went to a dispensary, and she wanted cannabis oil. She had lung cancer, and the husband had whatever. It was a horror show. And they gave her what I can only think is shatter, probably. And they told her to take a small piece. Well, she had had a horrific experience, complete with ambulance and hospital. And where's the accountability of looking at an 86-year-old woman and telling her, take a small piece of this? First of all, what's a small piece?
Yeah.
Right.
What's a small piece? What's a small piece to one person is not a small piece to another person.
Right. Exactly.
You know? And anyway, she, of course, was scared out of her wits and didn't go near it after that. So, you know, I think there's some people, I think these dispensaries need to take responsibility and be very aware that often people coming in don't know anything, and they're really relying on you to give them valid information.
And then the other thing that's happening too is that Rick Simpson's becoming so well known that a lot of these dispensaries are saying, we make the Rick Simpson oil.
Rick Simpson oil, yes.
You know, and so you get a lot of people. We have I forget which article or page on our website, but we get people commenting all the time. And what they'll do is they'll say, you know, if you want the Rick Simpson oil, please email us here. And it's like a spam comment kind of thing. And
those are the scammers.
Yeah. And so, you know, when it first happened, I thought this person was, you know, legit. And then someone emailed me, a listener to the show, and said, hey, I followed through and they want, you know, $700, this, that, you know, this, that, and the other. And I wrote them back and I said, okay, that person's a spammer. Don't give any information to those people. And now I just block them all. But, you know, this whole Rick Simpson oil thing is, you know, a lot of people are just sort of piggybacking on that, you know?
Yeah. Oh, definitely they are. And more often than not, unfortunately, it's subgrade oil.
Yeah.
So basically the role I play is this. I talk to these patients. I explain to them how to take it, some of the things that might happen, and I basically walk them through their cure. I also suggest where I would look.
Interesting.
Depending on where they're living.
Oh, okay. So you have a database or places that you...
I have a few individuals that I point people towards.
Some reputable
because
sources.
I know that their product is tested. I know what their product is extracted with, and I know that they're reliable and that these people are not going to be ripped off.
Oh, good.
That is really helpful.
And that's the biggest thing. My God, there are so many people getting ripped off, you know. It's so sad. It's sad. I don't know how these scammers look themselves in the mirror at night. I really, really do not.
Yeah.
You know.
It's a shame.
It is a shame.
Preying off
really
people who are sick, especially. It just is so low.
I mean, that's a low
so
thing,
low.
right?
Yeah, you're so low. You're scared. You're in a place of fear. You know, I mean, the first course doctors take is that one on how to scare the crap out of your patient. You know,
101.
And then write horrible, disparaging things in their charts.
Yeah. And you know, boy, some of the things that I've heard doctors say that they've heard of, or you know, some of the stories of people who talk to me.
I bet.
It's just amazing. It's just.
Could you imagine if there was a naturopathic doctor that treated patients like that? I mean, they'd be written up and be written about. Their license would be taken away. But because they're sort of following the standard of care, they've been through medical school, they have every right to be able to speak to patients like that. I mean, imagine if it were the other way around. I mean, doctors are losing their license for a lot less, you know?
Yes, yeah. And of course, you know, there's often people are surprised when I tell them that for every chemotherapy prescription that doctors write, they get a whopping commission. That's the only thing they get commission on is chemotherapy.
Right.
So, of course, they're writing prescriptions for chemotherapy. You betcha.
Yeah, and I've heard, too, from former guests and things that kickback they get is in the thousands per patient.
Oh, it's massive.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was just listening to or interviewing one of our guests recently. I forget who it was. The same thing is going on with the vaccination industry. So, doctors are getting thousands of dollars per kid in their pediatric clinics for getting them on a certain percentage of vaccinations by a certain date. And so, obviously, when you tell your doctor, I'm going to go natural or I'm not going to vaccinate my child, they fire you as a patient, but it makes complete sense because you're taking money from
your money
their pocket.
Walking out the door. Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to name names, but I'm in contact with somebody very much involved with the anti-vaccination and actually with Vaxxed, the movie that's out. So very well-known individual. And she is a medical professional. She's a doctor. And she told me that some of these vaccines are only tested for 4 days. 4 days.
That's worse than the 6-month rule, I heard. 4 days.
Yeah, 4 days. She said, it's not that I don't believe in vaccines, but there's got to be way, 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 way more testing.
Yeah, my goodness. 4 days. That is absolutely amazing.
4 days.
That just blows your mind. That just shows you right there that, their first and only priority is money, because you're seeing, for every medication that's been recalled, those same medications were, initially approved by the FDA. So, we unfortunately are the lab rats and the guinea pigs for their experimental testing, For
the experimental testing, yeah, exactly.
What a crazy thing.
It is crazy.
My goodness, right? It makes complete and total sense, because a lot of people don't realize that, this whole thing is a business, and people think that, the pharmaceutical companies or the people that are making the laws actually care about people. And, that facade is sort of put out there and laid out there, and, this caring, loving doctor. But, God bless the doctors, because they don't know a lot of them. But, it all is really just based on money and profits and things. And so looking at it from that perspective, it makes sense that this is the way that they would act, and operate their business,
Yeah.
It does. Yeah. It makes sense.
And the thing is, too, that most doctors don't even know that we have an endocannabinoid system. So they're not even aware of alternatives out there. Yet the government, the U.S. government, has known since 1974 that cannabis cures cancer. Or, pardon me, cannabis kills cancer.
Oh, you can't use the C word.
Can't use that C word.
So what happened? Because 74, didn't Nixon down here in the United States, declare the war on cancer in 71, right? And then, so in 74, what was going on in 74?
There's documented proof of it. I'll find it and send it to you if you want. But
yeah.
It's just insane. One of the patients that I helped, and I've become very close to, and he's awesome. He helps people. He was at his daughter's, and he's cleared of bladder cancer, stage 3. I think he had bladder cancer.
Oh, wow.
Anyway, he was at his doctor's, and he said, I want to tell you a little bit. And he mentioned something about the endocannabinoid system, and the doctor said, "Don't you mean? Sorry, but I think you mean the endocrine system."
Oh my gosh, he had never heard that word before.
It has never heard of the endocannabinoid system.
Oh my gosh, and he thought he was talking about the endocrine system. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, I feel for the doctors too on a lot of levels, because, there is no excuse on one hand for the doctors acting the way they do, and the pompous, arrogant attitude, and saying things to you, murmuring as, a death wish as you walked out of the office. There's no excuse for that. On the other hand, doctors get involved with this because they initially set out to help people, and then they start realizing that it becomes this tornado effect. They get sucked in. And, they got to pay their bills. They have, high mortgage. They're just ramrodded from the insurance companies and agencies. And in order to, to make a profit, they got to see each patient for 7 to 11 minutes. And it becomes this whole thing where they get sucked, and their whole life becomes this. Unfortunately, there's a lot of ego involved in that. But, the initial start out for most doctors is that they actually want to help people. But then, hopefully at some point they realize that they're sort of, unable to do that because of the laws and restrictions and things. And so, it's unfortunate that a lot of doctors are very egotistical in that way, but, it just, the doctors don't have time to research, and they don't have time to do, I mean, just like you were just saying, the doctor thought the endocrine system was the, how do you say it?
Endocannabinoid system.
Cannabinoid system. Yeah. I mean, as a doctor should know that.
Yeah. And don't, unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean,
when I'm talking to people, I say to them, it's not a fluke I got better. I didn't get lucky. This isn't like taking, Eye of Newt.
Mm-hmm.
And then I launch into my I call it the endocannabinoid system 101, where basically I explain to them that we have an endocannabinoid system and we have cannabinoid receptors throughout our body, and that when people think of cannabis, they think of THC. And yet THC is only one of over 100 some odd identified cannabinoids, and each of those plays a part. So when you're taking cannabis oil, you're not just getting THC, you're getting CBD, CBG, CBN, CBC, and on and on.
Wow.
And when you get the right cannabinoid to the right receptor, it's like putting a key in a lock, and it signals a process within the body called apoptosis, which essentially means the cancer cells commit suicide.
Well, isn't that part of the work that people are trying to do now with cannabis, if they're able to, is to isolate certain strains so that they can have a strain for different issues and health challenges people face, and they're being blocked from doing that because, for obvious reasons. But isn't that the kind of the work that people are trying to do? Yeah,
there's a lot of that trying to happen around now. Yes, definitely.
Yeah, wouldn't that be amazing if that could happen?
It really would be amazing. Another thing I should mention is right now, and I don't know how and why it started. It's frustrating. 6-8 months ago, started hearing stuff about, if you're using suppositories, you're just wasting the oil. I have a number of patients who have done only suppositories, nothing orally, and have been successful in clearing their cancers. And I'm talking everything from anal cancer right up to brain cancer.
Wow, just suppositories.
Just suppositories.
Wow.
You can also apply cannabis oil topically, say if you've got liver cancer or whatever.
Yeah.
Just mix it with a tiny bit of coconut oil, just enough to make it liquefy, and just rub it over that area, and it'll absorb through.
You know what I was thinking as you were talking earlier? I wonder, has anyone used it or done experiments with it topically with DMSO?
Together, yeah, I think some people have.
Yeah, I imagine I've never used the oil, and I imagine it to be very thick, so I wouldn't.
Yeah, it is. It's like tar. It's like tar on a tree, super sticky.
Yeah, so that'd be challenging to use with DMSO, but I bet you it could work if people made it correctly, maybe.
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah, because that way you can drive that, those
straight into the organ.
Yeah, the cannabinoids right into the organ.
Yeah.
Corrie, have you ever heard of? I'm just so curious. I have a friend who has a severely disabled daughter, and she goes up north in California and buys literally hundreds of pounds of cannabis and comes back, and she does this process for like a couple of days where she boils it down with glycerin and makes it into like a. Is that effective?
For what?
For pain. And do you know does it treat cancer as well?
I don't know if it would treat cancer. I don't know if it would pull out enough.
Huh.
Yeah, because she makes it in a unique way, but I don't think she's.
When we asked her about the Rick Simpson, she said, I don't know who that is. It's like she'd never heard of it. And I thought, how do you go so far as to do all this research into how to make this tea or tincture, but you don't know how, to. It was interesting.
For her daughter?
It totally is.
Good.
Yeah. And I'm talking like I don't think she'd be here if
her daughter wouldn't be alive. Her daughter's, I think, about in her early 30s.
She's my age, I think mid-30s.
Mid-30s, and she has what? What is her?
Oh, I don't even know. It's just,
she's in a wheelchair. And
severely disabled, like babbling like a 2-year-old baby.
Wow.
But yeah, without this tincture, I don't think she'd be around. So it's kept her from, and the thing is they give it to her during seizures and things, and it really helps. So I was so curious if that was something that people do a lot, is boil this and make it into like a tea or. But yeah, I think the suppositories.
Well, definitely tinctures, but I'm not familiar so much with people using glycerin to do it. That's all.
Yeah,
but definitely tinctures. I've helped with a number of autistic children, and they do incredibly well on cannabis. And the change, I had one woman whose son had been nonverbal. He was 4 years old, and he started talking within a month, I think.
Wow.
Yeah. Seeing is believing. Hearing is believing. I can't get over the pillar of hope that your site is. I mean, hearing how many people are reaching out to you, I think that's why we're all doing this, is just to keep assuring people.
Try and get the word out.
Yeah. Well done, Corrie.
Thanks. Well, how people say, "Oh, this is great that you're doing this," and I'm thinking, well, how could I not?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, with a story like yours, it's very incredible. Obviously, it was your destiny to have this wake-up call. It wouldn't leave you alone till you said yes.
My son, I started to talk about this earlier. My son, when I told him, I said, Michael, I don't know, quality or quantity, and I was struggling, going back and forth about whether to have radiation or do the oil or not do anything. And he said, I want you to know I stand behind you, whichever's your decision, Mom. And that was fine. Mm. And he was very supportive of me when I was going through this and doing oil. The day I phoned him to tell him that I was cancer-free, that we'd beaten this, when I told him, he said to me, do you remember when I told you that I would, support you no matter what you chose? And I said, yes. Mm. And he said, when you told me that you were going to do cannabis oil, that was your choice, I thought to myself, I have my mom for 6 more months. Mm.
Oh, wow. Wow.
And here I am.
Here you are.
In other words, he honored my choice.
Yeah.
But he really, in his heart of hearts, didn't think it would work.
Mm.
Wow. That is just...
That's a miracle.
Yeah, my goodness.
It's beautiful.
Wow. So does anybody else in your life, family or friends, take cannabis because of you on a, for maintenance or maybe a preventative
Oh, Lordy,
level?
yes.
I would imagine. I mean, you're the spokesperson.
Oh, do they ever?
I bet.
You're just shoving it down everybody's throat now, to all those that you love.
Well, my co-host, and he says to me, I knew F all about cannabis till I met you. Uh-huh. And, he takes CBDs and, number of people, because I never shut up about it anyway.
How can you not?
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm looking at your website here for people that are interested in what you do. It is cannabishealthradio.com, and I'm looking at episode 89. It looks interesting to me. It says 2 sisters, one died from pharmaceutical drugs, the other was helped by cannabis.
Mm. Yeah.
My gosh, wow.
Yeah, and the story, it's a sad story because the sister was addicted to opiates and did very well when she got on cannabis, became a legal cannabis patient in Montana, and then they pulled the licenses. And she died. She died of an opiate overdose.
Man.
Yeah, it was very sad.
Oh, that's horrible.
And
the sister has gone on to help other people now. That's what she does. She's amazing.
Yeah, I'm looking at episode 91 here. Cannabis cleared her, quote, incurable cancer, and doctors told this woman that her cancer was incurable, and with chemo only making her worse, she tried cannabis oil, and now she's cancer-free.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
People are waking up.
People are waking up, and if people, want to track me down, I am on Facebook. My first page is full, but I have a Corrie G. Yelland page, which is Corrie, then the letter G, and Yelland, Yelland, and I'll certainly, help as many people as I can. This is all about us banding together and saving lives and changing lives, Awesome. Not just about cancer. Boy, I had a woman in a wheelchair for 15 years with MS, and she was up and walking in 5 weeks.
My God.
I'll never forget that. She called me, and she said, Corrie, my wheelchair's in the garage. And I thought, shoot, she broke her wheelchair, because it's only been 5 weeks. And she says, Corrie, I'm walking unassisted. I got rid of my Depends, and I went shopping for the first time in 3 years today.
Oh.
And then she started crying. You've given me my life back. And, it's amazing. And this plant... guys, I say to people, show me a disease condition this does not at least help. because I'm yet to find one it doesn't at least help.
Yeah, and some of them it can completely reverse and turn around, and some it can help, in other ways too.
And
it's amazing.
Many cancer patients that come to me are very ill. They've had chemo and radiation. Their bodies are ravaged by it. And those are the patients that we tend to lose more than the ones who haven't had chemo and radiation. The ones who haven't had chemo and radiation, I say congratulations, you've just upped your chances by about 30%. However, these patients that we do lose, without exception, every single time the family member, the girlfriend, whoever, has come to me and said, what a difference cannabis oil made to that patient's quality of life.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right. It's such a powerful
you're never going to hear it's taken away or done anything harmful. It only helps.
And, I was in Prague. I was invited to speak at Cannabis in Prague. It's the largest cannabis convention in the world. And I think they had 25,000 people attend. Anyway, I was talking to Dr. Malamud there, and, he said to me, what do you think the success rate of cannabis oil is? And I said, 80%. He individually polled 4 or 5 other people who are tops in this field, and when he got home, he posted that none of us had known that he was asking anybody else this question, and we all said 80%, which I think is interesting because the cannabis grown in Colombia is not the same as the cannabis grown in Aussie, is not the same strains as grown in, say, Croatia, is not the same strains grown in Canada. Yet across the board, even though we were all using different strains, that are more prevalent to this, their particular area, we all say 80% success rate.
Interesting.
Wow.
I think that's a bit of a statement there.
Yeah, worldwide.
Yeah, worldwide. Because these different plants have different levels of cannabinoids, right? Depending on what plant they are. But yet, even with that factoring in, it was still 80% success rate.
Wow. Powerful.
Which compared to chemo is pretty darn good.
Yeah, you think?
Yeah, chemo is less than 2% from what I understand. Yeah.
Is it really?
Yeah.
3% is what I've heard. 3% success rate with chemo.
And there's only, I think, a couple different cancers that chemo actually works well on, and so all the other ones are just
dang.
Just a shot in the dark and hit and miss, so.
Yeah.
Hey, Corrie, what's the best place for people to get a hold of you? Is it your Facebook page or the website where you do the radio show?
My Facebook page is probably the best, the Corrie G. Yelland page, but certainly, they can write us at Cannabis Health Radio. We've got tons of podcasts on there, and almost 100 now, I think, of many of those are patients. 90% of them are patients who have treated their ailments with cancer.
And one final question, because people are listening to this, and I know what it's like, because I listen to podcasts all day long. And so whenever I'm listening to something like this, I think, okay, maybe I'm healthy, maybe I've got some chronic nagging health conditions. Either way, I'm thinking to myself, how do I get cannabis oil? So how do people go about researching good dispensaries in their area, or do they just search it out themselves, or what would you suggest?
The best is probably to make it yourself if you can.
Okay.
I certainly make suggestions to people. Or maybe if you talk to this person, they would be able to, it depends on where they live as well.
That's a big one.
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe search out how to get access to it, maybe get a medical marijuana license, maybe if that's possible in your state, and try to buy enough to actually make. And the instructions for making you can find online, right?
Yes, there's tons of different videos out there on how to make it.
How to make it without exploding your kitchen.
Without exploding, yeah.
Or your body.
Or your body, for that matter.
Exactly. See, now, in the one way area that we do differ here is Rick recommends isopropyl alcohol or naphtha for making it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I used isopropyl when I made it, and it worked fine. But what people need to be aware of, particularly in the States, is that when Rick was talking about using naphtha, and I don't think I'd ever go as far as to use naphtha myself, that's just a personal thing. But when I did make it before, I used ISO, because that's all I knew of, because I was on my own doing this. But the ISO and naphtha that you get in the States is completely different than here. Okay, it's not regulated, and it's got all this other crap in it.
Oh, in the States.
The best thing to use is like Everclear alcohol, something like that.
Okay.
Interesting. Instead of isopropyl alcohol.
Yeah.
Wow, because it's more tightly regulated there in Canada and not in the United States. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, do you have any videos on your website or any videos that you know of that might have been an updated version of how to make the cannabis oil?
No, but I can certainly find some. You know, there's one video that's pretty good up there on how to make a small batch in your kitchen.
Oh, I saw that recently. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it looks kind of the Martha Stewart of cannabis oil.
Right, I saw that. Yeah, as a lady in a nice, beautiful kitchen, right?
Yeah, Peter O'Toole's put up a couple of videos. You should go to Seed to Cure.
Peter O'Toole?
Oh, I see him right
Seed
here.
To Cure at seedtocure.org, I believe is the website.
Okay.
But there's all sorts of stuff out there, and, you know, I certainly am willing to, you know, point people, you know, to videos or et cetera, or people, if they wish, you know.
Okay.
About us all helping each other.
Absolutely. I just followed you, and I just followed Peter O'Toole, Uncle Pete.
Uncle Pete.
I just saw him. How cool is that?
Nice. Okay.
Great.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Corrie.
Corrie,
for sharing your story. And my hope is that, you know, more people wake up and become aware of what's going on with cannabis and the power of cannabis. And, you know, I'm such a huge advocate of people having options. And, you know, I think the more that people like you do radio shows and help people and get the word out, and the more we feature people like you, if everyone did that, you know, eventually people are going to get the word, you know, because CNN's not going to tell us. Sanjay Gupta, God bless him, he's not going to tell us.
Right.
You know, so it's so important, I think, for us to keep getting the message out.
Exactly. And, you know, this is something that people can use on their own, or they can do it with, if you know, they really want to do the other therapies as well. Certainly patients who do chemotherapy and choose to do cannabis oil with it fare far, far, far better than those who do just straight chemotherapy.
Mm-hmm. And you could probably integrate it, too, with natural remedies. If someone wanted to go 100% natural, they could integrate it and do other stuff on top of...
oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's not a cure-all. Cannabis oil by itself is not a cure-all.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, nothing is. Nothing's 100%.
Right.
You know, but you've certainly got a heck of a lot better chance with cannabis oil.
A little more than 2%.
Yeah, we'll take it.
Yeah, way more than 2%.
Slightly more than 2%.
We'll take it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Corrie. We'll be in touch.
Alrighty.
We are a little bit behind in posting shows, so it may be a week or so before we get this out there, but we will. I'll let you know as soon as it's posted.
Sure, no problem.
Awesome.
Yeah, Pete's great. He's a little all over the map right now because he.
I just saw he got very upset.
Yeah, well, he got not busted a while ago, but they came in and took all his plants and stuff, and he's really on edge because he doesn't know what they're going to do. They haven't pressed any charges. It happened in the summer.
Oh no!
And that was also their living, and he's helped tons of patients, and he actually threw this event called Seed to Cure, and I actually went down to Michigan to meet him, and it was to raise money for cannabis patients. He used to have this cannabis camp that he ran, where he'd bring patients in and make them better. And yeah, he's an amazing man.
Oh wow, we should get him on. Do you think?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Should reach out to him.
Yeah, we need to reach out to him. I'll save his information. That's so cool. Doing some good work.
To tell him that I suggested.
Okay.
Him, yeah.
Because
he's pretty cool. He's got lots of knowledge, and he's got a great radio voice too.
Oh,
awesome!
Great. Cool,
yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, we actually interviewed him. It was. I'll send you the link to it so you can get sort of a sense of what he's about.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Okay.
Love that.
Just to give you a sense of it.
I love that.
Good luck, and thanks for all you guys do.
Oh, you're so welcome.
Thanks, Corrie.
Hang on the line. Yeah, hang on the line there really quick. We're going to just close out the show. I just want to thank everyone for joining us. And please, if you know of anybody that has any kind of health condition or who is open-minded, please pass this show on to them. It would benefit them. It would benefit us. And maybe you will be like Corrie's sister who gave her the movie Run from the Cure. Maybe you'll play that role in their life. So you never know what happens when you pass on information and you help share empowering information. So consider sharing this show with anybody you know that could be interested in using cannabis.
We'll be the conduits, right?
Yep. We're all going to be the conduits of sharing this great information. So thank you guys for joining us. Let me make sure I get this correct. If you want to check out our sponsors for this show or the actual show on the website, it is episode 513. So you can go to extremehealthradio.com/513 and we'll put some links as well as the sponsors and everything on that page. And that way you can listen on the website to this particular show if you like. We love you guys. We'll catch you guys on the next episode. The history of heat therapy dates back over 2,400 years, and it was Hippocrates who said, "Give me the power to produce fever, and I will cure all disease." This FDA-approved medical device called the Biomat is a mat that you can lay on, read on, sleep on, do yoga on, sit on, and it can be used on office chairs, massage tables, and the like to help the body heal itself. It's inlaid with 30 pounds of healing crystals using amethyst and a rare black tourmaline producing negative ions in a healing electrical field. These healing crystals help to restore cellular health by replacing electrons to the atoms as well as penetrating deep into the body by 4 to 6 inches. What can the Biomat do for you? It'll improve your skin, burns as many calories as if you went jogging for 30 minutes. It improves the immune system by up to 40% or more, reduces stress and fatigue, removes toxins, lowers cholesterol, relieves pain, revitalizes cellular metabolism. It improves cell channels to deliver nutrients and oxygen to every one of your cells. It activates over 3,000 enzymes. And even a Harvard medical study showed cancer cells die at over 42 degrees Celsius. It reduces stress hormones by up to 78%. It allows your body to produce heat shock proteins, which increases endorphins, NK cells, T cells, and lymphocytes. It's very, very low EMF, and it's got a 17-layer technology. Dr. Mark Serkis is the director of the International Medical Veritas Association. Explain to us more about these biomats.
These biomats are these far infrared mattresses. You lay on them, or you sleep on them, or both. You do very heavy treatments during the day, and at night you sleep at just a nice comfortable temperature. These biomats are like these love machines, comfort machines, and healing machines, because what they do is they just radiate out light, far infrared light, and you can radiate yourself all night long while you're sleeping when you're not doing anything else. And what happens is this light penetrates the body and turns to heat. And the first thing that happens when you bring your core body temperature up 1 degree is your immune system strength increases by 40-50%. They feel when you lay down on them, you guys know, you have one. So it's like the feeling is so good. It's like being in the cuddling with a lover, your wife or husband. It's just warmth and comfort.
How are you using biomats for patients in your clinics?
The cancer treatment using heat is very aggressive, meaning during the day, you sandwich yourself in between 2 of them, turn it on to high heat, and bake the cancer. The cancer will die before you will. No, this is, you can go to England and spend $20,000 and use microwave a cancer out of existence. These biomats basically do the same thing. Radiation therapy for cancer is really a solid idea. Unfortunately, oncologists use the wrong radiation. They use radiation that kills you. This biomat uses radiation that can save your life and make your life more comfortable, keep you warm in the cold, and help take care of your kids and all, the list doesn't end.
Yeah, because isn't there some sort of temperature at which cancer cells will start dying?
Right, and it's below the temperature that human cells will die.
So you really like this biomat far infrared technology, don't you?
But it's strengthened me. Well, now the kids are addicted to it. They fight on who's going to sleep on it at night. And it not only changed my life, but it changed my medical practice and my books. This is a great machine for anybody who lives in the cold during the winter. Instead of heating a big house, you just heat yourself. Bottom line, it brings good feelings. Just lay on this biomat, and it gives the strength back.
I can attest to that indeed. Kate and I love ours, and we think you will too. Learn more about these amazing biomats at extremehealthradio.com/biomat. Or you could check them out in our store as well. Again, that's extremehealthradio.com/biomat. All right, episode 513. You know what? That might be Whoops.
What was that?
Oh.
Are we
I'm not
here?
sure what happened.
Okay.
It was a big click. That might be the most distracting episode we've ever had. I'm not sure if you guys could hear this in the background, but we had gardeners, we had helicopters, we had FedEx deliveries,
dogs
barking. What else? A diesel engine in the background, truck across
a flock
the street.
of crows.
Oh my gosh.
Against the window. That was funny.
I hope you guys could hear the interview okay. It was like, we could hear all of it, and I'm not sure if it translated to you guys or not, but that was
when
so
I saw the
distracting.
gardener pass by our window 7 times.
Yeah.
And we looked at each other with our mouths just dropped open thinking, this has got to be, and it was such a good story.
I know. And I kept being so distracted by it.
Somehow we stayed on course, and I was more interested in what she was talking about versus what was going on outside the window. But I mean, when the weed blower kept going, I thought, what in God's green earth is going on?
Well, I thought it was crazy because usually they come at this time in the morning, but they'll make one sweep in their, 10 minutes.
Done.
They were here for 40 minutes.
I know. What was that? See, it's like the word, it doesn't want it getting out and perpetuating.
Yeah, and what's cool is that we bought these super expensive microphones. So
cancel out the noise.
It cancels out the noise. So hopefully you guys didn't hear any of that. These are like the kind of mics they have in studios, regular.
Yeah, they're legit.
So that was an interesting show. Are you?
Doesn't that want to make you jump on board more?
It makes me want to do the cannabis.
I know.
I got to do it.
Yep.
I mean, talk about just maintenance to do it every night.
Yeah.
Would be pretty cool.
I think, I'm with, it's funny. I mean, I think she nailed it with most people like myself that don't know much about this stuff, but are turned on to it and know it's good. We just don't want to get high. And that's the main, kind of point people touch on with her. And I agree. If you're sleeping through it, I mean,
yeah, it doesn't matter.
What does it really matter?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm interested in the suppository. I've really been wanting to try that experiment myself, but I feel like for the uterine fibroid that my body has, and it's just stuck there. But I do think what she was talking about was really encouraging, that some is better than none. So if you can't afford the 60-gram protocol in 90 days, just do something, you know?
Yeah.
So, where we're at too, I want to just do something. So I'm going to definitely make my order. It's funny. I let my, recommendation expire 3 days ago.
Oh, what recommendation?
For the cannabis, for the marijuana, medical marijuana.
Oh, you mean, is that our license that we have?
Yeah, it's a recommendation. That's what they call it, not a license.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's crazy.
So we have to go back and renew it?
Well, I filled out all this paperwork online, and I have to ask you after this to help me get that email back to their office, but they'll just re-up it for a fee, and then we can order some stuff. So it's pretty cool.
Takes us a long time to get into things, doesn't it?
Well,
we signed up a year ago.
A lot of it's money. I mean, like she was saying, a lot of it, you think, why, if I can't do the 60 grams in 90 days, I'm not going to see any benefits, and I'm wasting, $1,500 versus if I don't have the $4,000 or whatever it's going to take,
Right.
So
is that how much you think it'll be? $4,000?
I think for the one I wanted to do, it was like $4,500.
I wonder how much it would cost if we were able to. Well, I guess if we were able to grow it. See, this is the bummer thing. If everyone is able to grow as much cannabis as they want, you and I could grow it with rock dust. We could grow it with
ocean minerals.
We can make the most amazing, cannabis plant ever.
Yeah.
And then juice it and then make the oil out of it. I mean,
yeah.
It's so just nauseating that there's laws out there that are preventing us from putting a plant substance into our body.
Especially when they're seeing the information. That just even makes that's nefarious to me.
I mean, how
if you're uneducated, it's one thing, but when you're hearing these stories about people basically going into remission cured states, if you want to call it, or just the cancer's completely disappearing, I mean, and then to go after it and shut it down, just it's sick. It's a sick world. It's like blowing up a hospital full of sick people.
Yeah.
Who does such horrible things? I mean, it's ridiculous.
It's
ridiculous. Same goes for when you see those videos of animals to children to adults having vaccination injuries. It's like, how do you see this stuff? That's just as nefarious the other way. How do you see this?
Did you see the video that we posted on our Facebook?
I couldn't watch it, of that little girl.
Yeah.
Did she end up getting one?
She got one, yeah.
Why was the parent...
Did you see that? She was laughing.
It's a video of, no, I didn't. It made me sick. I started it and I had to turn it off. It's like this little girl in the doctor's office and she's pleading with her mom, like just trying to buy more time to not get the vaccine. I'm sure she was thinking was she talking because it was going to hurt? Like the pain of the needle. She probably didn't know anything about like what was going into her body.
Yeah, she was just afraid of it.
And the mom was laughing at her. Yeah, I couldn't watch that.
Yeah.
It makes me upset.
It makes me so upset. Ugh. And people on our Facebook, this is the weird thing, is people on our Facebook are talking about how this daughter, kids are, millennial kids these days, and kids are in general are entitled. And, if she were my kid, I would have just, sat her down, put duct tape over her and just shot her up. And I'm thinking, like, why are you following Extreme Health Radio on Facebook?
Oh my gosh.
You know what I mean? Like, if that's your attitude, I'd rather you not follow.
Oh, completely. That's not what we're about.
No way.
Wow.
And I was just shocked. Like, but then again, maybe some of those people were commenting that don't follow us. Maybe they just
a lot of people see the video. Yeah. I mean, that's unfortunately the state of the world we live in right now.
Yeah. Unconscious.
They see something, they comment, they spout off not knowing anything. So.
Yeah. All right, everyone, CannabisHealthRadio.com. This is episode 513. One quick thing I want to let you guys know. We're going to be launching a membership site very soon, where we're going to be diving deeper into not just theory, which is what we talk a lot about on the show, but practical applications and uses of how to get on top of health conditions that you might be challenged with. So we're going to be talking with doctors, doing Q&A, monthly calls. We're going to be doing webinars. We're going to be taking questions that, you could submit your questions, and we're going to have different courses and programs on different conditions, as well as taking care of your different organ systems in the body, like your liver, your hormonal health, all kinds of really cool stuff that we're going to be rolling out. So if you're interested in that, it's not going to be for everyone, and I don't want everyone to join, but if you want to take your health to a new level, and you want to dive deeper with how-to videos and practical protocols, this will be the place. It's going to be the Extreme Health Academy. And so we're going to be launching here. I have no idea when. We've been working on it for a long time, but there's still a lot more to do. So we'll put a link to it on this page if you guys are interested in something like that. extremehealthradio.com/513. What else? Oh, thank you guys for also supporting us via Amazon. A lot of you guys have been doing that. On the right-hand side of our website, there is a link below the Amazon picture where you can drag that link onto your desktop, and you only have to do this one time. And if you drag that link to your desktop, it'll create a little icon. And then if you use that icon in the future for every future Amazon purchase, that helps support the show. So you don't have to remember to go to our website first, click the link on every purchase. Just use that icon that's on your desktop, and you can just drag it from our sidebar of our website to your desktop, and that should work. So also, thank you guys for your support on Patreon and Amazon, as well as for shopping through our store. We're adding all kinds of new stuff. We just added Sarah Banta's Scalar Silver on the store.
That stuff is changing my life.
It's good, isn't it?
Got to talk about that on the next free-for-all.
Yeah, it's the absorption rate on this silver using Scalar technology is almost 100%, as opposed to less than 10% on regular silvers, no matter how small the particle size, according to Sarah Banta. So we did a show with her. So if you're interested in silver and the many different applications and uses of it, go to our store and you can check out Scalar Silver.
Silver, gold, and platinum.
Silver, gold, and platinum.
I want to try them all.
I know, right? All right, guys. We
Thanks,
love you guys.
Everybody.
Thank you so much, and we'll catch you guys on the next episode.
No material on this blog is intended to suggest that you should not seek professional medical care. Always work with qualified medical professionals, even if you educate yourself in the field of live food, nutrition, and alternative medicine. I'm not a doctor, nor am I offering readers medical advice of any kind. None of the